All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to Cyber Chat. We do this every Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, and we appreciate your time and your support and always, showing up at this time of the week that you can, be doing other things, preparing for the weekend, but you choose to be here to share knowledge with the family. So I'm Dr. Emmanuel Edu, and today's discussion, we will be looking at cybersecurity incident response. And I know a lot of people are very interested in incident response. So that is why we started off mostly, we will start off with at least a good maybe 50, and then people will be trickling in as we are moving along. But today we started off with almost like 100 before it was 7, which was good. So that shows interest or maybe some other interests. Right. So I'm Dr. Emmanuel Edu. If you are new to the family, I'm a former United States Army captain. I'm the CEO of Eretmis Inc. We are a QSA company, cybersecurity consulting firm based out of New York. And I'm also the founder of Eretmis Academy, a cybersecurity training institute, also based out of New York. And this program is brought to you by Eretmis Academy. So with that, we are going to move on into the topic for tonight. So tonight, we'll be looking at cyber news, and we will jump into, and we have internship/workshop coming up, part of which is going to be part of the scholarship that we are going to give. We are starting this off in October 21st, and then we are starting a new PCI class for expert and specialist also in October 16th. And with our entry-level course, you can start at any time, right? So we'll be discussing cybersecurity incident response. We will first look at the case study and dive a bit deep into the case study, and we will look at the definition and also jump into the steps in incident response. And I think for incident response tonight, we cannot treat the whole entire subject, so we are going to maybe touch a little bit on it next week, looking at the career perspective when it comes to incident response. And I think we'll be able to wrap up with the topic of incident response, hopefully next week. Right, so let's get started. For cyber news, we are just going to discuss briefly our October Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So it's a National Cybersecurity Awareness Month for the United States and also around the world. Everybody within the cyberspace, all countries have come to accept that October is a cybersecurity month. And I think they chose it for a reason, right? Guess what? Dr. Edu was also born in October. So maybe that is why I love everything cybersecurity, and I'm well vested in cybersecurity. So all October borns on here, maybe you are a cybersecurity October born as well, right? So, and as part of our cybersecurity awareness, creating awareness about cybersecurity, what we can do as Eretmis family is to give scholarships to the Eretmis community, right? And help push, October borns, we are here, help push the cybersecurity agenda, right? So just to pick, anybody's brain, why October? And anybody has any idea why October was picked for Cybersecurity Month around the world? You can raise your virtual hand. So please, you raise your virtual hand, and we'll give you the floor to speak. So if anybody has any inside scoop why October was chosen as a Cybersecurity Month, and mostly what do we do for Cybersecurity Awareness Month? For the United States, sometimes I think for the past maybe a year or two, it's been a bit louder, but before then it was a bit quiet when it comes to Cybersecurity Month. Anybody aware of the reason for choosing October as a Cybersecurity Month? Virtual hands. Okay, Ucheba, go ahead. Okay. Speaking, I wasn't able to hear.
Okay. October was designed as a National Cyber Awareness Month in the United States. The decision to choose October for this initiative was made to raise awareness about cybersecurity and promote safe online practices ahead of the holidays season. When cyber threats often increase, additionally, the October serves as a reminder for individuals and organizations to enhance their digital security measures as they prepare for the upcoming year.
All right, thank you. And I saw some hands were also raised. Troy, what? No, I think Troy is trying to log in. So Ucheba and who else? Doc, go ahead.
Yes, I was gonna say Black Friday and Cyber Monday after the Thanksgiving holiday, all the shopping that begins for Christmas and all the other religious holidays between November and January.
Sydney, thank you.
Okay, thank you for having me, Doctor. I think most companies do close their books sometime in September, which marks the end of their fiscal year, and is a way of educating companies and the general public to be proactive as regards that period, which I think most companies will probably be preparing to close their books and all that. And then the cyber actors as well will be trying to take advantage of that period where companies are struggling to close their book and probably start a new fiscal year.
Okay, thank you. Julius.
Yes, Dr. Du, so this whole process started in 2004 when they created the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. That was specifically in October in 2004. So they created this initiative to sensitize people about cybersecurity, and how people can protect their systems and all of that. So it was a movement that started in 2004 in October.
Okay, thank you.
The kid.
Vincent.
You guys also have to remember there's a lot of transactions going on during that time. So cybersecurity is a big thing because you can get hacked. Think about it. Some people do 6,000 plus transactions, 6 million plus transactions during that time. So that's probably a big reason why they started doing cybersecurity in October, because like you guys said, some of the other people said, got the holidays coming up, where people are getting ready to start buying, doing all their shopping and all that stuff.
Great insight, Vincent. Idris, hopefully I got your name right. Please, we can barely hear you. If you get closer to your mic. Yeah.
I am now.
Yes.
Okay, I'm saying that because of what happened during the 9/11 here in the United States and what is coming next is like holiday that's coming, so there's a lot of transition that's going on at what people see. And I think it's because 9/11, since the technology is going up, and there's a lot of cyber attack now during the holidays, as well as the tools to look and cyber awareness.
Okay, thank you. And I think we will take one last person in the list. Prince.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I think it was the President of the United States and the Congress that actually declared the month of October to be the Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
President and Congress. Okay, thank you. And okay, one more after Prince, because Prince was brief. Leonard.
The last person just said it. I wanted to just add a joiner. There is an agreement between the US President and the Congress to raise an awareness, for the entire populace as well as the public and private sector on cybersecurity.
Thank you. So anybody else has, okay, I know there are some hands up. I'll probably start from the bottom now. Kofi, go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Edu, I think it was a collaborative effort between the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the National Cybersecurity Alliance that came together to name this month and particular time for safeguarding information online due to cybercrime.
Okay. And maybe for the rest of the hands that are up, so what really do you think is the goal behind Cybersecurity Awareness Month? And like, why do we even need Cybersecurity Awareness Month? Not maybe DevOps Awareness Month or any other, part of IT. For the remaining hands that are up, I'll go with Derek, and then Ifeoma. Go ahead, Derek.
It was dedicated as a month to cybersecurity awareness. Organizations and individuals have the opportunity to focus on improving their digital hygiene, learning about emerging threats, and taking steps to protect themselves and their data online.
Good evening.
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
I would say that the reason why it was
really?
October
Okay.
was chosen is because measures needed to be put in place to protect Americans with the growing use of the internet at that time. And of course, before policies are set up, there's usually incidents of crimes on the internet that happened before. So the Department of Homeland Security and the National Cyber Security Alliance set this up, of course, with the backing of the US government to keep the citizens safe from cyber crimes.
Okay, thank you. And I think we probably choose one last one and we'll move on. Who didn't? Joel.
Okay, Doctor. This is why Cybersecurity Awareness Month is important, and I believe one, education and awareness. Many people are unaware of the various cyber threats and risks they face online, and the Cybersecurity Awareness Month provides a platform to educate individuals, businesses, and organizations about the latest cyber threats, best practices, and how to protect themselves and their informations. Also, prevention. Awareness campaign can help individuals and organizations to prevent cyber attacks, by promoting good and cybersecurity hygiene. We also there's another point that I can raise, promoting responsible behavior, and a couple of reasons. These are some of the reasons why Cybersecurity Awareness Month is very important.
Okay. Terry, just picking up. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, good evening all. I think for me, it highlights the importance of cybersecurity, just before the holiday shopping season begins. The increase in online shopping and online financial transaction during the holiday season is kind of huge at this time of the year. So from this time down to January, so I think that's one of the main reasons why this is chosen.
Okay, great point. So far, everybody is making great point. Kwabena, please go ahead.
Yeah, as much as everyone is saying, it's the same thing. Just to draw, I'm sorry. It's a day set aside for awareness of cybersecurity, so that people, there are a lot of people.
Please go ahead.
I'm sorry, so sorry. So there are a lot of people who are not who don't know the meaning of cybersecurity, and they are not aware of it. So it was set up by United States President and the Congress. They all agree that the public sector and the private sectors should be aware about cyber security. I mean, so that they'll be able to protect their assets. Each organization should be able to protect their assets and be aware of it, about the cyber crime going on in the space.
Okay, thank you very much. And lastly, we will have Mohammed, and then Awini will go. Go ahead, Mohammed.
Yeah, I think the goal is overall goals is to educate the cybersecurity community about and make them awareness about the threats that exist in the world, especially in the United States. And the reason why it's celebrated is first is almost the end of the year, and a lot of people kind of basically lack their attention and focus on preparing holidays, and that's what a lot of criminals come into and play when your guards are down. And also because of the holiday, there's a lot of transactions happening on through the online, and that's where a lot of dark webs and inside threats happens, and a lot of credit card information got stolen. So they want to make it October just to educate them about what's coming ahead of them.
Okay, great. Thank you. Awini, go ahead.
Okay, so it was a month prepared for digital awareness within the environment companies operate in. The essence of it is to let people anticipate the threats and challenges that will come in the future, and then to protect consumers, to be aware of how to be safe online, and then to let institutions that are directly involved to collaborate with each other to increase the level of awareness and bring education to the consumer of cyber technology in order to be able to stay safe in every transaction that they are carrying out. So it is a chosen to actually educate and increase awareness about threat landscape within the public and about fostering a safer digital environment for everyone so that we can all be safe online. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Awini. Joseph and Akwasi will go. I think like Julius also wants to make another point, but Joseph and Akwasi, Joseph can go first, and then Akwasi will go.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that one of the reasons why the awareness is very important is because humans are the weakest link in any security system. And human beings, no matter how secure a system is, if you don't sensitize the people, if you don't create awareness, they could easily, compromise everything you put in place by simply clicking on a phishing email or using an old password or accessing the network without the VPN in an uncontrolled environment. So I think the October awareness is it's targeted at humans to make sure they follow the adequate software security and all the protocols put in place to protect them.
Okay, thank you. Akwasi, go ahead.
All right. I would say, well, I'm speaking from the Australian point of view. In Australia, 2009 October, the government accepted that there's going to be a cybersecurity awareness month, just as in the US. And it was probably because 2 million Australians are probably gullible to online cyber attacks, mostly on their credit cards or whatever they do on the shopping online when the season, should I say, festivities are coming, Christmas is coming, whatever they do, the shopping, whatever they do, they leave their computers and they don't attack, they don't tend to attend to it. So cyber criminals, should I say, they attend to, or they attack their cars and then they use their cars for whatever purpose that they need to use for. And the government actually chose October as an awareness month to educate. So constantly there are education on TV, adverts and everything in October. They keep playing it on TV so that people will be sensitized and then be aware of cyber threats. And companies also come together to educate the public. And then even in their company, should I say, in offices, you see awareness going on concerning cybersecurity threats that are happening constantly, probably, definitely to older Australians specifically, because the young ones know how to maneuver their way, but older Australians are more gullible to cyber threats than the younger ones. So we choose October as a cybersecurity awareness month in this country as well. So that's my point of view I'd like to share.
Okay, thank you, Kwesi. And I think like Julius want to go again, or if this is from previous.
Yes, Doctor, I just wanted to reiterate something. So as I said earlier, this is an initiative that started in 2004. And I wanted to point out that it was initiated by the US government in collaboration with the IT industry, so to help, companies and, the companies and different organizations to cater for their security postures, So it was because of the evolution of technology. Prior to 2004, things were not as after 2004 when technology, we had all the smartphones and all this stuff coming up. So the government of the US, saw this as an opportunity to partner with the IT industry to set up, this October month to create awareness for people to like getting people to know exactly how they can get themselves, protect their systems and all of that. So it's typically a US initiative.
All right, thank you, Julius. Point well made, and I appreciate everybody's input. So yes, of course, what everybody said is right on the money. Like I'll say, so October, the reason for really choosing October is partly because of the strategic time within the year that October falls within, and then also everything else that we talked about. And this is an initiative that was championed by United States, and everybody else is like following suit, right? So and predominantly we have Cybersecurity Awareness Month because cybersecurity, right, can make or unmake companies, even individuals. But how many people are really aware of it? And then one aspect of it that the Awareness Month focuses on is cybersecurity career, right? Bringing a lot of people into the cybersecurity space. So if people know about it, then they will know about like career paths in cybersecurity, and what are some of the ways that you can get into the cybersecurity industry, because for around the world, there's over like 3.5 on-field cybersecurity jobs around the world. In the United States, last time I checked, it was almost 700 or 660,000 on-field cybersecurity jobs, right? So the demand, or like the number of cybersecurity on-field jobs, keeps growing. From 2020, it was around 500,000 on-field cybersecurity jobs in the US. 2 years down the line, 2.5 years down the line, is almost 700,000. So the trend, it looks like, is going to keep increasing, and we need to generate more, or we need to create more cybersecurity professionals to fill these roles. And the longer that takes, the better that is for attackers, because they can easily attack companies and individuals with no lines of defense, or like nobody to really hold them accountable. So everything that everybody said is good, and as we are all here, we should all be ambassadors of the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So if not for anything, just invite friends and family, people that you think might be interested in cybersecurity, to join Cyber Chats, to join other cybersecurity webinars and stuff out there, and then also spread the word, right? Spread the word, talk to friends and family about cybersecurity and some of the ways that you can use to protect yourself, right? So as part of this, next week, although we will be still looking at incident response, we will still take a look at how some of the techniques and some of the ways we can protect ourselves personally, right? Not our companies, personally. So on WhatsApp, on different apps that we have on our phone, what are some of the tricks that we can use to protect ourselves against some of these attackers and scammers that are out there, right? And I think when we approach cybersecurity from that perspective, we are able to catch everybody's attention, because mostly people would like to know what is in this for me, right? So even for us, Eretmis as a company, for the awareness training that we do for companies, we first start off with how you will be able to protect yourself. So the you in there is the staff, right? So individually, we show you some of the tricks of how you'll be able to protect yourself. And we also, sometimes we demonstrate some of the attacks in real life for you to see how simple that is. So with that, they pay more attention and they feel like, you know, they are well invested in this because they have something to lose, or they have something to lose if they don't pay attention, because attackers can easily attack them. And it is on them to make sure that they are, you know, keeping in touch with what is going on in terms of some of the tricks and tips that attackers are using. So I appreciate everybody's inputs. Everybody was right on the money. So we are going to jump into what our discussion for tonight. So tonight we are going to be looking at cybersecurity incident response, right? And all of us might have encountered an incident at a point in time, maybe on different scales or on different levels. For organizations, when there is an incident, it's a whole different ball game, right? So an incident within an organization can kick them out of business. So statistically, for organizations that, small to medium organizations that will suffer a cyber incident, 68% of them go out of business within 6 months, right? So, and even for big companies, it is also going to be a huge problem. They lose a lot of money, lawsuits, they lose goodwill, right? So, but the sad truth is, every company is going to get breached. It's just a matter of when, right? Regardless of what you do in security, you are going to get breached in one way or the other. It's just a matter of when, right? So it's not, whatever you are doing, you are not immune. You can pass all your audits. You can, you know, buy the best security solution in place. You can do everything right, but there's nothing like zero security in cybersecurity or information security, right? And in the world in general, there's nothing like zero risks, not security, zero risks. There's nothing like zero risks. There's always going to be some leftover risks after you put in place all the controls. So because of that leftover risks, no matter how big or small, attackers might be able to take advantage of it at a point in time based on the situation or the circumstance. So what is really going to help your company is how you respond to such an attack or such a response, such an attack or such an incident, right? So we are going to look at real-time case study, and everybody knows this company. Everybody on here has used this company either to order foods or to get a ride, right? So we are going to start with, guess who? Uber. Now, we can easily start jumping into incident response and do definitions and stuff, and that is that. But, you know, it has to be something that we can all relate to, right? To give us a better understanding of what incident response is all about, right? And I bet anybody on here who has never sat in a cybersecurity class and, you know, you are really indifferent when it comes to cybersecurity, I think this is going to pique your interest. Right? So we are going to look at a case study, Uber, right? So incident response case study, our company that we are looking at tonight is Uber. Now, what happened to Uber? Now, our guy that we have here on the right, Mr. Sullivan, he was the former CIO, I think it's Chief Information Security Officer, and with Uber, right? So he was the guy, Chief Security Officer, so CSO. We have CIO, Chief Information Officer, or CISO, sometimes Chief Information Security Officer. So this guy was a Chief Security Officer, which is almost the same level or almost the same as CISO, right? He got sentenced to 3 years probation for covering up an incident in Uber, right? So we are going to get into the details of his case and what he did. And then we are going to get into the technical aspect of the incident in question, right? So this happened this year, May 5th, by the U.S. Attorney's Office, North District of California, right? And information that we are presenting here was directly picked from the websites of the North District of California's U.S. Attorney's Office, right? So a former security officer of Uber sentenced to 3 years probation. So he didn't, I think for the lawyers or people with law background here, 3 years of probation, I think he didn't, you are not going to go to jail, but you are going to be on good behavior and probably some other things that they're going to have you do. And if you violate any of those, you can end up in jail. And he paid a fine of 50,000. So what did he really do? He was a chief security officer in charge of everything, cybersecurity, information security, everything security within the company, right? Why is he in court for anything? I mean, the company got breached. So does it mean, why is the CEO not in court? Because he's overall in charge of the company. He's overall in charge of everything, including the chief security officer, right? So let's get into the details of the case. So Mr. Joseph Sullivan was sentenced to 3 years, 3-year term of probation in order to pay $50,000. And this was announced by the court whose website we got this information from, right? And this was after a jury found him guilty of 2 felony counts in October 2022. So his sentence was actually in 2023, but he was found guilty October 2022. And funny enough, it was in cybersecurity awareness month, right? So now let's move on. So Sullivan, 54, from Palo Alto, he previously served as, I mean, now he's no more the security officer with Uber. And so prior to him joining Uber, Uber suffered a data breach in 2024 and 2014. And this data breach was being investigated by the Federal Trade Commission, FTC. So when they started the investigation into this breach, right? So there was an incident in 2014 where Uber, was breached. So, and customer data was stolen and all that. So FTC, which is responsible for anything that has to do with customer data privacy and customer data, they are the ones who are going to take you on, right? So they were investigating this, and this happened prior to Sullivan joining the company, right? So now, because he was the chief security officer, he was in charge of, like collaborating with this agency to make sure that all the information that they needed, they are going to get the information that they needed. So as part of the investigation, he took the oath to provide all the necessary information and to be truthful to the best of his abilities and knowledge. So you might think, I mean, this happened when you're not there. So it's very easy for you to just give them all the information, which he was collaborating with them, and so he participated actively, responding to FTC investigation and aiding them with compliance and all that. And as he was doing that, right, Sullivan was involved in the presentation of what happened, to FCC in March 2016 about, and he was also to brief the agency about Uber's cybersecurity program. So he testified, okay, everything was fine in October. And then guess what? In that same year, whilst he was testifying and giving them information about an incident that happened in 2014, Uber got breached again. Uber had an incident again where they got breached. And this time it was massive, right? So approximately about 57 users' data were compromised, including drivers and users, so everybody like yourself and myself. If you take Uber or you're a driver, your data was somewhere in there. And guess what? The attackers use the same vulnerability that they use, or the same weakness in Uber system that they used in 2014 to breach Uber. They used the same thing to breach them in 2016. And this breach occurred whilst, Sullivan was giving testimony and they were still dealing with the 2014 breach, right? FTC was dealing with 2014 breach. So if you were Sullivan, were you going to report this new breach to FTC, or you were just going to let it be? So guess what? He chose not to report, right? He chose just to push it under the rug and to pay the attackers. And also, we are going to get into the details of how they tried to do that, right? So he tried to conceal the breach whilst he was working with this agency, which is responsible for checking this thing, and they were investigating a breach that happened 2 years before, and you got breached now whilst we are still going through this. And he even told his subordinates to try and keep this confidential for fear of negative publicity and also some repercussions. And I think he kind of really felt that ultimately he's responsible for everything cybersecurity within the company, right? But he took it very personal, and also probably together with, I think, the former CEO in the company, they decided this wasn't good because we are in the public space or the news for this. And then there's another one, which, funny enough, the same vulnerability, meaning they didn't do anything about the 2014 vulnerability, right? So what did Sullivan do? He paid the hackers. So he told everybody who knew this to shush, and he paid the hackers 100,000 plus, right? And made them sign a non-disclosure agreement stating that no data was stolen when this attack occurred, right? So, everything was good until, and he also failed to tell like the counsel for Uber, right? So the lawyers, he didn't tell the legal team or anybody. He did this together with himself, and probably maybe, I think if anybody else was involved, they would have probably also been in court. So probably he was the low-hanging fruit that they could easily get, but I don't really know that part of that. But some quarters say he kind of talked to the CEO who was back then, who was the CEO when he was the chief security officer. So they decided, or he decided not to, because he's ultimately responsible for reporting this. He decided not to report it. And what he did was this. So how did he pay the hackers? So Uber has a bounty, back bounty program, right? And we will explain back bounty. So Uber has a back bounty program. So Sullivan thought it wise, instead of just paying the hackers, that will be something else. So he kind of made this look like it was an ethical hacker or a white hat hacker who breached their system through their bounty, back bounty program. So they have to, if you are doing back bounty for the company and you find a vulnerability, they have to pay, right? So that was how they put it in the books. So with ethical hackers, when they breach your system, they'll just let you know, they wouldn't steal any information. In this attack, the attackers, they stole almost like 57 million user information and drivers information, right? But Sullivan just went ahead and made it look like it was part of the vulnerability management program that they have in place, and attackers or good hackers were able to find this information, and he paid them off duly for the hard work that they did, right? But that wasn't the case. It was an actual hack, and they stole that information, and he had them, he paid them off to just keep it on the low, and they even signed a non-disclosure agreement. How the other word, do you sign non-disclosure agreements with hackers? Let's see how that plays out. So in 2017, so everything was fine until 2017, when Uber had a new management. And the new management wanted to, when the new CEO and new other people, Sullivan was still there, right, as the chief security officer. So when the new management took over, they wanted to investigate what is going on with the first hack, with the second one. And I think they suffered one 2011 prior to the 2014, prior to the 2014 and 2016. So they wanted to investigate this. So obviously Sullivan is going to be the first point of call. Well, when they asked Sullivan, he told the CEO, there was a bounty hunt program that, there was like a breach, but nothing was stolen in terms of data, right? They probably didn't take his word for it. They did the investigation, and they discovered the truth that indeed data was stolen, and they reported this information to FTC. So they kind of pulled the rug right under him. So the report, which he should have known and he should have done the right thing. They reported to the FTC because the new management didn't want to be part of this nice jail sentence, right? Because they knew better, right? So they reported it, and then that is the background behind why Sullivan got dragged to court and all that, and the sentence that he got, right? And now he's a case study. So, and we are going to just, before we get into the technical facts about this, we are just building our case and we are learning about incidents, right? So this is how far an incident can get you in a company. If you're a cybersecurity professional, even if you're the CEO of the company or you are the owner of the company, right? If he would have reported this, I mean, it's not through any fault of his. Like I said, incidents, they will happen to every company. It's just a matter of when. So don't take it too personal when you encounter one, to try and cover stuff and shield stuff. Well, if they think you didn't do your job well and you didn't put in some measures and you are going to get fired, fine, so be it. You are not the only person who has been fired in that position, right? But to actually go to court and to be sentenced, you don't want any of that, right? So, and two, if Uber at that time, I'm not sure, this is kind of educated guess and speculation. I'm sure they have the structures in place. They should have an incident response team. They should, for a company of that size, if they are doing everything right, they should have a robust incident response team. So keyword on robust. And this team would have handled this swiftly, right? So there should be somebody on there who is the legal person on there, HR, PR, and the rest. And if they had a well-structured team, they wouldn't have allowed their chief security officer to push this under the rug. Because if the team is, on point and they are working and doing what they're supposed to be doing, the legal people will be in the know, HR will be in the know, and they know the steps to take. Everybody knows their part to play within an incident response team. So for him to be a one-man show and to decide whether to, push it under the rug or to do something about it or not to do something about it, that was a big flaw in the structures that Uber had at that time, right? They could have easily saved themselves all this trouble. And this Sullivan guy could have also saved himself a lot of trouble because it's not its fault. The company got breached, right? Whoever was the CISO when they got breached the first time, they didn't do anything about that weakness or probably pretended they did. And attackers use the same, it's like you got hit by the same car at the same spot twice, right? I mean, like, that's not good. So you shouldn't take the full blame for this. You should just, hey, we got breached again, but I mean, what do I know? I just got here. You could have got away with that, right? But he took it too personal, thinking, I mean, saving the company's, reputation. But then now the company is still intact. Reputation is good. Guess what you did to your own reputation? Not so good. So let's look at the technical facts about this. Now, for the hack that happened in 2014, this is what happened. A hacker, the hacker or the hackers who were able to breach Uber's systems and their network, this is what they did. They purchased login credentials or sensitive, they purchased like sensitive credentials for, okay, so I think that is for 2000 and Uber has so many breaches. Let's just stick with this one. There's 2014, 1, 16, and then also 23. We'll look at 23. So with this one, what had happened was that one of their developers, one of Uber's software developers, mistakenly published something on GitHub. Now, if you don't know GitHub, you can look it up. It's like how do I even classify it? It's like a spot where all IT folks, especially cybersecurity folks, software developers, and the rest, they post information and data and what they are doing. They post it on there. That way other people can also use those resources, in their line of work and also for studies and practice. So I think I even have a GitHub account. It's been a while, but you post things on there, right, that you can share. So this software developer, he shared a code on there, and the code had some sensitive information in there. So anybody who had the code was able to have a full admin privilege on their AWS service. And also a downfall to that was that they were storing everything in AWS, they were storing it in plain text, which, I mean, for a company like Uber in 2014, storing data in plain text on AWS, I don't know who was doing that, but that is a big no-no, right? That is a huge no-no. And mostly, like I tell, during cyber chats and during classes and everything, I tell everybody, for companies who are not taking security seriously, not pointing any fingers, but the big ones, because they are so big, sometimes they get complacent, oversight is lost, so people are doing, anything and everything that they want. So that is what happened, because Uber shouldn't have been storing this in plain text. If this data was encrypted and attackers were able to get their hands on it, they can't really do much with it, right? Unless they're able to crack the encryption, which if you're encrypting with the latest form of encryption, like the strongest types like AWS and the different variants that comes with it, they wouldn't have been able to do that. Now, also for the software engineer who just shared the code, I don't know what processes they have in place for software engineers to have access to certain type of data. I mean, he's a software engineer, he might have it, but then also what policy do they have on engineers posting on GitHub, which is a public network that anybody can get on and use and share, right? So that is also kind of questionable, but this is what really happened. So somebody mistakenly posted something that other people could easily use to have access to their AWS servers, and they were storing everything in plain text. So that was really easy peasy for attackers. So this was 2014. Now in 2016, a similar thing happened. Similar, right? Almost the same thing. And that is how the attackers were able to breach again. And now, Sullivan was trying to shield it or cover it up. Right? So with that, now this is the details of the data that was stolen and all that, right? Not really much in 2014, but they, since once customer data is involved, I mean, you have to answer to somebody, right? So that was 2014. Now in 2022, we've not talked about this. They are not in court for this or anything, but they also had a breach in 2022. And with this breach, what happened was that the hacker stole, or the hacker purchased stolen credentials, login credentials from the dark web. And one of the credentials happened to be that of an Uber employee. And what the hacker did was that the hacker tried to log into the Uber employee's account on Uber's network. It didn't work because Uber has set up multi-factor authentication, which is good. Something that, putting another layer of defense. So using more than 2 factors of authentication. So now the attacker wasn't able to just log in with the username and password, right? So how was they going to bypass the multi-factor authentication? So what they did was that they contacted this particular Uber employee and told that Uber employee they are from the security team at Uber and they are doing a test on everybody's account. So they will send him a verification code, like a multi-factor authentication notification. So either on your phone or, whatever multi-factor authentication system. Yeah, in this instance, it was a phone, right? So they send the notification to him, he ignored it, and they just keep bombarding him with the notification until he was like, okay, fine. Just, give them the notification or accepted that he's the one trying to log in. And that is how the hackers were able to get in. And when they did get into his account, through that, they were able to also compromise their Slack account. And guess what they did? They posted on Slack for the whole company, for the company that, hey, I'm a hacker. Uber has suffered a data breach. We've stolen your data. Slack has been stolen. Confidentiality of data has been breached, and not the rest. And this is exactly from what he posted, or he or she. I don't know if it's a he or she. So this also goes to show you that you think after Uber has suffered 2011, 2013, 2014, they keep, history keeps repeating itself. They might be on top of their game. So I said, a breach, or to experience a breach or a hack, is just a matter of time, right? A matter of time. Everybody and anybody can experience this, but that doesn't also mean you shouldn't do anything about it. You shouldn't be proactive about it. Right? And I'm not saying Uber is not proactive about it. I mean, they are doing something, but they can do better. So with that, we are going to jump into FTC. So what are some of the things they put in place, or what the after school that they have Uber Good, right? So if you're not doing that well in class, we organize some special class for you after school. And that is what Uber is in, right? Olan, I'll let you in here shortly. Now, this is what FTC. So FTC fined Uber. I'm not really sure about the amount. I think it was in the million, more than, I think, 100 million thereabout, right? Like they fined them for 2014, and I think something around 2016 also as well, right? And they still keep falling for these attacks. So this is what they have Uber do. So one, Uber, they are going to secure software design and development and testing to include access key management and secure cloud storage. So, they were breached because they were storing everything on AWS in a plain test. I don't know who would even do that for such a company, but what do I know? Two, Uber should review and respond to third-party security vulnerability reports, including their bug bounty program, right? And three, they should prevent, detect, and respond to attacks, intrusions, and systems failures with some sense of urgency, right? And then new provision for Uber, the rest we can go ahead. And all this information, this is from the FTC's website. So none of everything that we are talking about here is directly from the source. Now, we are going to open the floor to do just a little discussion, and then we'll move into incident response, attack it from the academic perspective, and then we'll look at why we need incident response. And next week, we can look at jobs or career path within incident response, and also what are some of the techniques and ways that we can use to protect ourselves as individuals when we encounter an incident, right? So with that, I'll let Olan ask his question, and then we are going to, I'll give some questions and we are going to discuss it. Go ahead, Olan.
Yes, sir. I just want to know, the employee that got compromised, is he a current employee or is not their current employee?
So the one in 2014?
Yes, the last illustration, I mean, the example you gave, that the multi-factor authentication had to be sent
this
to
one?
him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was an employee when this happened. I'm not sure if he's still an employee.
As at the time it happened, he was an employee.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you're not an employee, you wouldn't have access to their network. So he was an employee when it happened.
Yeah, I was just thinking perhaps maybe they did not take his login off when he was disengaged. Maybe. I really don't know. But for him to have compromised,
like he's an employee.
Game?
He's an employee. So he was an employee during the time of the attack. So it's not like he left the company and they didn't take his, they didn't disable his account or delete his account. According to the accounts, he was an employee, like actively engaged in the company.
It needs to be really punished and only compromise such. Thank you, sir.
Okay, but so as a leader, right, if I'm the CISO for this company, as a leader, when whatever your staff or your subordinates do or fail to do, it's on you, not them, right? So you should ask yourself, what could I have done to prevent this from happening? Not to just punish the person, right? Because if the person was well trained when it comes to phishing and social engineering attacks, he wouldn't have fall for this, right? So it's not just, you know, hitting them really hard, but you as the leader, what could you have done better? Or what structures do you have in place that could have prevented this? And like I always say, and during my PCI talk, people, right? We shouldn't lose sight of people, the people aspect of people, processes, and technology. I'm sure Uber has invested in so many tools and software, but all the attacks were through people, right? And that is 95% of the time attacks are through people. So as a leader within the security space, your focus should be, okay, fine, you know, it was through OLAN. What could we have done better? Right. All right. So I think another hand is up. RCCG, please go ahead, and then we will take other folks as well.
Good evening, sir. Doctor, I'm very happy for this case study. My question is this, and before that, I would like to know the role of defense in depth. What would the role of this defense in depth play in this case if that employee had another level of authorization above his head? You know, that's number one. And also the role of multi-factor authentication. I've had problems with organizations that do multi-factor authentication through text messages because they are not, you know, they don't want to use other companies' authentication software or app. They just choose to go for text or phone calls. Some of financial institutions are guilty of that. So marrying these two, you know, the weakness in MFA, you know, and then the defense in depth that could have provided a second layer for that guy that got goofed if he truly handled sensitive information. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. So we will first tackle defense in depth, right? Defense in depth is one of the concepts that we use in cybersecurity architecture and design. Right? So with defense in depth, we are putting in place layers upon layers of defense. Example, a very practical example, when you're walking down the street and you see a car parked, you know, by the street side, and this car is locked, but then they've also locked the steering wheel with a certain device and probably locked, you know, the gear with also a certain device. Why would they lock the car from the outside and still lock the steering wheel in the inside? That is an example of defense in depth, right? So defense in depth, when the attacker is able to breach the door, right? They are able to maneuver their way and they unlock the door. Even though they've been able to unlock the door, there's another hurdle in front of them for them to jump before they can steal the car. So if nobody saw them, you know, trying to break into the door and they were able to get in, at least somebody will see them struggling to, you know, undo the lock on the steering wheel. So, and if I'm an attacker and I want to steal a car and I see two cars, one with a steering lock on it, the other with none, and I can easily break into both cars, which one do you think I'm going to steal? I mean, I ain't got time to be undoing your steering wheel. Take your car. Right? I'm just still the one with no steering wheel. So defense in depth, one, you know, they can serve as a deterrent. Two, it puts a lot of obstacles in front of the attacker, right? So for example, the multi-factor authentication is a technique that we use for defense in depth, right? So for this particular scenario, I think they were using a dual factor authentication, not a multi-factor authentication. Because with multi-factor authentication, you are using more than 2 factors of authentication, right? And for factors of authentication, if you are new to security, we're just going to do a brief intro here. So in identity and access management, we have 5 factors of authentication, right? Something you are, so something you are, something you have, something somewhere you are, something you do, something you the 5. I mean, I'll go through them later, right? So something you are is something that is on you as a person. So your eyes, your face, facial recognition, your like thumbprint and all that, your voice, right? All those are something you are. So if we are using any of those biometrics to authenticate or to grant, to use as a form of identity and access management, one of the strategies we are using is a single factor of authentication, right? So if you are using facial recognition and your fingerprints and your voice, it is all one factor, right? Sometimes people get confused. If you are using your facial recognition and your thumbprint and your voice, they will think you are using 3 factors of authentication. They all fall under the same category of authentication, right? That is something you are. Now, something you have, they can send a pin to your phone. They can send, if you can have the Google Authenticator that will automatically generate numbers for you to type in. All that will be classified. Anything that you have on you not on you as a person, like your biometrics, but any object that you have that you can use for authentication is something that you have, right? Now, something is the last one that I wanted to refer to. So something will be a password or some PIN or something that already is in memory. They don't have to send it to you, you it. So mostly your username and password, right? So like that is something so we can get into all that, but for you to use multi-factor authentication, you have to use at least 3 of what we talked about, right? So if you are using something something you have, somewhere you are, right? You are using 3 factors of authentication. So in this case, if they were using 3 factors of authentication, when the attacker had their password, that is something right? And the attacker compromised the password. The attacker is trying to use that to log in. It wouldn't work because the other factors of authentication that you have to go through, right? So the other factors of authentication that you have to go through, one was, something you have, because they sent him a notification or they sent him a PIN on his phone. And he gave them the PIN and they were able to take over his account. That means they were using just 2 factors of authentication, not multi. Multi is more than 2. 2 is dual or 2-factor authentication. So in this case, they were not even using multi-factor authentication. So for layers of defense, we can do the factors of authentication. We can also add other stuff to it, right? Also, like we can mix it up, frankly. So that is kind of a cybersecurity architecture discussion. So hopefully this helps. Now we are going to move on to Therese. I got your name right. I think like somebody's having issues with their audio. Abina, please make sure you are muted. Please go ahead, Therese. You are still muted. Oh, you're unmuted, but I can't hear your voice. Okay, Fabi, go ahead.
Yes, hi everyone. Doctor, my question is, when you were talking, you said something about bug bounty that you said you explained, but I didn't hear you explaining. So if you can do that for us so that we will know.
Okay, great. So bug bounty is a program that companies put in place as part of their vulnerability management program, right? Every company is supposed to have a vulnerability management program, under which you are going to have, mostly when you say vulnerability management program, people think it's just doing vulnerability scans and then that's it. No, there is more that goes into a vulnerability management program. Your scans are part of it, but that is not all of it. Vulnerability research, your bug bounty program, and then responding to vulnerability research or vulnerabilities that are found within your infrastructure from outside researchers that are all part of your vulnerability management program, right? So with bug bounty, what organizations do is this: they set up a fake network to mimic the original network, right? And they invite all hackers around the world, that is ethical hackers around the world, to hack into the fake network. And when they are successful and they are able to, bridge the network, or they identify any vulnerabilities, they will present it to the company and the company will pay them money, right? And because they were able to, they spend their time and energy and their knowledge to be able to discover vulnerabilities within your infrastructure, right? So when they find that, the organizations will go ahead and use that information to fix the vulnerabilities in their actual production infrastructure, right? So that is the bug bounty program. Now, hackers, there are some hackers who are freelance hackers, ethical hackers. All that is all that they do for a living, right? And some of them are making good money. If you don't find any vulnerabilities, you don't get paid nothing, right? So they invite, and when you Google right now, if you go online, all companies who are very serious about security, they have such a program, right? So where they invite attackers and vulnerability researchers to try to break into their system, and it's not the actual production system, it's one that mimics the original production system. So any issues that are found in here, you might be able to find the same issues in the real network. So they call it the bug bounty program. So bug meaning a weakness in coding, which is we will say like a bug. There's a bug in the system. So bug bounty, you are finding, just like how they do, I think, human bounty program, where people who are being sought after by the law and they're on the run. We have people who get paid to go around and chase them and to catch them and bring them back. It's a similar concept, but here you are chasing vulnerabilities within an infrastructure and you are catching them and letting the owners of the system know, and they get paid for it, right? So in this situation, when the hackers were able to breach Uber, the chief security officer, he wanted to pay them off for them to shut up. So he made it look like they were ethical hackers who hacked into their bug bounty, who were successful in their bug bounty program, and they had to pay them, right? But in actual fact, these hackers were demanding money, that, hey, if you don't pay us, we are going to disclose your information and we are going to let everybody know we're able to breach your network, right? And they have stolen over 57 million, customer information. So he made it look like it was through the bug bounty program that they breached their fake network. So they didn't steal any data, right? With bug bounty, when you breach the network, and one is not the original network, so there's like fake data also there. So even if you steal that, it's nothing, right? So that is how he was making it look like. So hopefully everybody understands that piece. Right, Derek, go ahead.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Doctor, quick question here for you. I just want to find out, so in other words, does it mean that these people were not doing annual auditing to make sure that their controls or the VAC scan were not looking into details to remediate all the open port or the vulnerability scanners that they have, the open vulnerabilities that they have?
So, with all these, like with attacks that we looked at, the attackers they didn't really breach their network. They used social engineering, and then one engineer also gave everything away on a silver platter, right? So they use social engineering to breach their network, not to kind of like go head on with their network devices or like with the software that they have protecting their network, right? So even if you are doing your scans, you are doing everything right, and Derek decides to publish his credentials on YouTube, or somebody calls him and yelling at him that he's from HR and they need him to really confirm this code they are sending to his phone, and he just gives them the pin. I mean, I don't think your firewall is going to slap Derek on the face and say, why are you doing that? Right. So sometimes, mostly these attacks are successful because attackers are using social engineering attacks, and that works better than trying to breach a company's network by just going head on, right? Most attackers now, most hackers, they are not, aside the APT ones who are like on steroids, most of them are just script kiddies. They are just trying out to see if it works. They are not that skilled. That is what I mean, right? So if you know how to generate a phishing attack and just send it to random people and have like a payload behind it, somebody will click on it. It's easy. And once they click on it, if I'm using keylogger and you click on it, now I have access to your system. Everything you are typing comes to me, right? Your messages, your pictures you are sending, everything comes to me, right? And like, I didn't really have to be like a hacking wizard to be able to do this. You can teach a 5-year-old to do this and they can do it in a minute, right? So they might be doing everything right, passing their audits, but if we don't keep, tabs on people and on social engineering attacks and always in their face with security awareness, this is what happens, right? So hopefully that helps.
So how many times do you, I mean, does it based on the company policy, how you have to give your employees training awareness, like every 6 months or every 1 year or every 3 months? I mean, I see a couple of things in NEXT and then CIS that they give different, they give you a scenario like every year. But does it mean that you have to stick with 1 year, or you have to stick with 6 months, or you have to stick with 3 months based on the company policy?
So this is the deal, right? In security, most of the things that we call best practices. So most of the things that you find in PCI DSS framework, in RMF, and in the rest, CIS and the rest, they are all supposed to be the bare minimum that you are supposed to do for security. Right. So mostly for security awareness training, generally speaking, the best practice out there is you should do it once a year. That is what most of the frameworks are talking about. Now, if you want to avoid such scenarios and having your company being used as a case study, then I'll do it quarterly. Right. I'll do it. So just to, add to my own point, how long has Coca-Cola been around?
Many years.
Why are they advertising every day like they just started their company?
They want to make more money.
Because in marketing, you have to stay in the mind of your customers the whole time. So same principle applies here. If you're in charge of security for your company, you want awareness of such attacks to be in the minds of your staff the whole time. So you have to always be in their face. So me personally, I'll do it every month. Every Friday of the month, we do like a case study like this. We bring it up. Now everybody is interested in this because they know Uber. They want to really find out what happened, right? They want to dig into it. Now, oh, okay, so this guy did this. So now when you are there and somebody calls you, hey, we want to verify that, you are still part of this company, so we are sending you a PIN. Oh, I know that trick. I'm not going to fall for it, right? But if they don't know, I mean, they will easily fall for it. The smartest person in the room will fall for that, frankly, right? So you have to be always in the, if you are waiting for a year for awareness training, okay, good luck to you and your company. You are going to be the next on the chopping board for a case study, right? So, Ellen, go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello?
Go ahead, Ellen. Yes.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, this magnitude company, I mean, Uber is a big company, so I believe they should have the incident response team. Unless Mr. Sullivan, all the teams told them, keep it confidential. This thing. The second part, it hacked 2014 and 2016. By that time, they should be, they learned their lesson, and then, teaching all these employees not to happen. On the 2022 is a different things. I mean, you already answered my question before this. Awareness all the time, like every week, every month, you have to teach your employee, identify any potential risk. So this could have, WhatsApp, for us, it's a good lesson also. I got a lot of texting, phishing attack on WhatsApp, asking you for things like that. So from 2016, they should know their lesson. They should keep it. And 2022 is a big lesson too. They need to push, awareness of security at all times, 24/7.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Elam. Rini, go ahead.
Okay, so one of the things that I didn't see, I'm just trying to get the facts, but I didn't hear anything that Mr. Sullivan was really vetted when they hired him. And I'm thinking that he may have already scoped out what he was going to do, in the fact that once he got hired, he had all the opportunity in the world to do what he needed to do to breach Uber. So that's where I'm going at. I'm looking at what did he do before he got there? What access did he have access to before he got into Uber? And no one seemed to say anything, even when he was in court. There was nothing mentioned about, well, I hate to tell you, I wanted to be a lawyer, so this is really good for me. So I'm looking at all of these breaches that went through the process, and no one went back to really investigate what this man was really doing before he got in with Uber, to be a big dog in there and did not even check to vet him good enough so that they would have found out some things about this man before they actually hired him. That's just my thoughts on this.
Yeah, and rightly so. So mostly, let me let you, like, give you some inside scoop, and most people on here on managerial levels will attest to this. So mostly at that level, right, at the C-suite level, sometimes it's just good old boy club, right? So you are just hooking yourselves up. So not to say it's not on merit, but it's not on merit sometimes. Right. So if I know you from way back from somewhere and we are buddies, we are, golf buddies, we are drinking buddies. Hey, there's a spot open here, John. You want to, I think you'll be a good, and then, right. They get all the big money and they have people under them who are, so for folks, if you come in like that and you are not very technical, if you're a good leader, you'll still be able to manage it, because then you have them do the job and you just, steer them in the right direction. But I think for Sullivan, personally, I've not researched into what he did previously to this, right? But for him to get on that level at Uber for security.
The old saying is, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer.
Yeah, so like, I don't really know like what transpired, for the employment piece and all that. But yeah, I think like he took this too personal, in terms of like he thought that was like a big, dent on his reputation as the security, as the chief security officer for the company, right? So he was going to just, maneuver his way, and this is just going to go away. But it didn't really work that way for him, because of the new management that came in. They wanted to come clean, right? And then also not to fall for the same type of attack by almost probably like the same attackers moving on, forward. So yes, good observation. Terazi, I'm not sure if your audio is good now. You can go ahead. And if I got your name wrong, please forgive me. But yeah, I think your audio is still, you're still having audio issues. So likewise, we try to fix that. I'll let Akikumi, please, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, so I think you're also having issues with audio. Olu, please go ahead, and you can also ask your question or make your contribution.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here, sir. I'm here. Dr.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, yeah, I just want to emphasize more on the social engineering hacking thing. There's this podcast that I listen to. There's a lady on there that has won the competition 4 times. She's a stay-at-home mom. She's not technical. She doesn't know anything about hacking. She doesn't know how to do anything about computers.
and she has won the competition 4 times in a row. So they interviewed her and said, how is she able to break into all these organizations quite easily? She said she always follow somebody in the hiding department on social media for a company that she's targeting, and she would notice when you have to be a female. She would notice when they have to go on vacation. You know, people post when they're on vacation on social media. And then she would call into the organization and said, "Oh, well, I'm currently out sick. I've not logged in, and I've been in the hospital for the past couple of days. I forgot my password and my login details. And guess what? The ID department would give her, they would give her a new login password credentials to get into the system. She said that's how simple it is. Yes, she said that's how simple it is to get into these organizations.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So that still just go to reiterate the point of awareness training. So the people at the at the help desk, you know, they are just trying to be very helpful and very like willing to help anybody, but you know that is like an easy win for an attacker, just to use what they think they are using to help you to turn around and get credentials that easy, right? Yeah, great insight. Thank you. Olu, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Dr. Edu. So basically, I've been looking at this case for some time now, and that inspired a particular research within my organization. So my question about this is basically to ask you directly, looking at what has happened over the years, do you think that we've learned enough for us to be able to stop this kind of an attack, especially looking at the cybersecurity strategy that was released about 2 months ago by the Biden administration, and also in line with what we experienced with the pipeline ransomware attack? So my question is basically, have we learned enough? I know that with the cybersecurity strategy, we've moved from being reactive to proactive, but have we really learned enough based on your experience? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So it's yes and no, right? We are humans, so we continue to exhibit human, attributes and traits. We are always inquisitive. We are always curious, right? We have different mood swings. We are happy today, you sad tomorrow. We are angry the next day, right? So, and attackers, they study people. They are like all attackers who are using social engineering. They are well vested in identifying human weaknesses and using that as a point of attack, right? So like the lady that I think Olumi was, sorry if I got your name wrong, because it was a lot of folks on there. So Akikumi, yeah, so like the lady that he was talking about, right? Mostly I think for like, I've heard one lady also call a bank, like she just did it on a real show. So they were like, no, you can never get my credentials for the bank. He's like, okay, really? She called the bank. She had 2 phones, right? Called the bank, and whoever was on the other side, I think Bank of America or any of these banks, and she was asking for, so if it was me, right? She mentioned my name, Dr. Edu is my husband. I'm home with the kids. And then on the other phone, she has like a voice of some kids crying. So she'll press on it and the kids are crying and she'll be like, oh, sorry, like the kids are really like bothering me and my husband is not here. And, she tries to make it very urgent and in like a very chaotic environment, to the point where the person on the other side is like, so frustrated, they just go ahead and give her the bank credentials, like the log, I think sometimes she took the ATM pin because she couldn't find it, or she doesn't know, she has the card, but she doesn't know the ATM. They told her all that, right? So she has really studied people, and she know the kind of strings to pull and the nerves to hit for people to react in a certain way, right? It's like if you are a security guard and the lady approaches you and she wants to get into the building, and you're like, okay, show me your credentials, and she's holding a coffee. And before you realize, she has like spilled the coffee all over you. Sorry, I'm sorry, digging into her bag, and she's clumsy and she's falling over, and okay, go. You just don't want to deal with it, right? But that is a trait that they actually use, right? So they study human, weakness and human, and they use that. So as we are, getting, more aware of some of the tricks, they are also switching it up, right? So they are getting smarter and smarter. So we have to always stay ahead of. That is why I was asking. Coca-Cola has been around for maybe probably most of us, but why are they still advertising like they just came up yesterday? Because they want to be in your face, in your heart, in your minds the whole time. So when you go anywhere and they ask you for a soft drink, and you just don't want to choose, the first thing that comes to mind would be Coke, because you've seen it so much and you don't even know you've been programmed like that. But that is how we should advertise security awareness training, or how we should advertise security awareness within our companies, right? And it's good we are talking about this for the Cyber Security Awareness Month, right? So we will go to Pristine, and then we will go to Faith, and then Mr. Odro and Emery, and we'll move on. So Pristine.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Adu. Want to really thank you for this platform. As a fellow former instructor at the University of Maryland College Park or Global Campus, I'm really pleased to be on this platform. And I taught data communication and networking at that university. And like everybody is saying, my data communication class, one thing I always stress to my senior student, particularly when it comes to data security or security in general, was people are our number one threat. And also they are our number one defender. So educating your employees, your staff on the issue of them being the number one defender and being the number one threat will go a long way in the security of or the prevention of all these type of threats, or all type of threats for that matter. So I really just want to add that to it, that having taught this in this area, the stress is on us, the users. The user are your number one defender, they are your number one threat. So and what we do to make them fall in the positive line of that, being the number one defender, is education, education, education. My last job, we used to receive email 2 or 3 times. Spoofing email will come, but people will still fall for it. Even my boss fell for the email. Okay, so people do it. So, but we have to be able to actually continue to educate our users. These are the people that can save our information, our organization, our data. So, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, and we'll go to Faith.
Hey, Dr. Adu, thank you so much for this opportunity and everything you're doing. I'm just curious, some of these hackers, or could there have been cybersecurity professionals that got corrupted that is actually doing this thing, to know this type of information or what to do to get people? Or I'm just curious.
Yeah, so for the hackers to be able to do what they do, they are cybersecurity professionals in a way, right? So cybersecurity professionals on the other side who are doing bad things, because at least you have to know something to be able to execute this. And for some of them, it's just, for the ones who are not just doing, bare minimum like scamming stuff, and the ones who wants to get on your AWS and the rest, they have to be skilled in that area to be able to know the type of encryption and to be able to hit you with different types of malware. At least they have to be well, vested in those areas, right? So, but it will amaze you that the skill level that you need to do that is not even that much. Frankly, you don't need to be that. You don't need to have been like a hacking guru for the past 15 years to be able to. These, I can show you how to do some of these in like maybe less than 10 minutes, right? And you will be able to execute and do some of these easy. And guess what? All the tools that are used for these type of attacks, they are all free. And the ones that are used for defense, they cost a premium. So maybe probably just speculating who is behind the ones that are used for the attacks. I don't know.
That's the scary part.
Yeah. I mean, so maybe somebody's making the ones free for attack and then also doing one for defense. I mean, who knows? But like all the ones that like name it, all the tools that are used for attacks, 99% of them are open source. They are all free tools. The ones that are used for defense, they will cost you a fortune. Right? So I don't know why that is or how that is, but any which ways, Kwame, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Right. Go ahead, Mr. Odo.
So, Prof, I have a question and a concern. In most companies, right? Let's say you are sending out a phishing email or you put it up a setup for like a phishing attack for all the whole company, and then you meet up with your higher ups that this email is going to go to the whole population of the company, all the employees. But then they choose to say, okay, we have this higher up, like the CEOs and the CFOs, that they exempt them from receiving these emails. And it has been bothering me. Like, why would they want to limit who can get access, who can receive these emails, no matter what? I believe, or you told me that no matter the standard or the level of the person, they should all be trained. But in a situation where they think this is the owner of the company or this is the CEO and we don't want to barge him with this kind of email, so he's allowed to like be exempted from the list. And I want to know what your contribution towards that, and what if you in your situation, what will you do?
Okay, so I think just to repeat Kwame's question, if I'm getting you right, you mean when you are sending out an internal phishing campaign, just as a part of your awareness training, when you are sending that email out to see who's going to fall for it, and then those people will be identified for retraining. When you are sending it out, your boss is telling you, don't send it to the CEO, don't send it to like people in like top management positions. Like, is that what you're asking?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Those are the target that everybody's after, but then they eliminate those people from the list. And I've been always in a meeting, I've been pushing, but they still think those people are too busy, too successful not to be bothered. And it's always got to me like, but they always tell you like, you don't get it. So maybe I don't get it, or maybe you have to tell me something different.
Yeah, so everybody should be part of this, right? Everybody is susceptible. Everybody, can fall for this. So it's not because of you are the company owner. I mean, company owners and people in top management, they should be more concerned about this than anybody else. So they should all be part of this. But I think probably they want to say that, like, save themselves from humiliation, because mostly they are the ones who will fall for it first before anybody. So they don't want you to know they are the ones who've been falling for this, because everybody's name will be on there if they fall for this when you do your internal like phishing campaign. So maybe they think they are giving them that respect or that preference, but they are not really doing themselves any favor, because attackers don't care whether you are the company owner or not. And for company owners, there like a special type of phishing attack that targets people within the C-suite. So your CISO, your CFO, and the rest. What is the name of that type of phishing attack?
Really?
Okay, I think was it big?
Well, that's what I do. It's called well.
Okay,
It's
so
called whaling.
Whaling
Okay.
attack.
It's
Yeah,
called
whaling
whaling
attack.
attack. It's a
Okay.
whaling
Whaling
attack.
attack.
The big whale in the sea.
Yeah, of course. Right. So attackers, they see everybody, you know, they see us as the sea or like the big lake, and everybody else will be a little fish, small fish, some, you know, like different types of fish. But the people who are really carrying a lot of weight within the company, like your CISOs and the rest, anybody in top management, they are considered a whale, right? So if you catch one of them, it's a big catch. So it's a whaling attack, right? So if they are able to catch maybe John, who works in finance, I mean, John cannot really sign any check, or they cannot trick John to transfer any money to anywhere. But if they intercept the email from your CFO to some other company with an invoice, and they change the bank account details on the invoice, and they send it back to you, hey, we just changed our details, so send it to this send it to this bank instead. You know, they just got like $5 million for free. But John couldn't have given them that. All John can do is just click on it and have them access to the company's network, and maybe probably there is no money on the network. So the whales are supposed to be well protected, and protecting them is making sure they are also well trained, even beyond your ordinary staff. They should have additional, you know, top management training when it comes to social engineering and the type of attacks that they are susceptible to. Because for them, if we catch one of them, I mean, it's a big catch, right? So just imagine if you catch like 3 or 4 different types of fish, you know, like the size of the size of your hand, as compared to catching a whale. I mean, come on, like you can eat whale for 20 years and still, you know, not be able to finish it. But so they should take it more seriously. That is what I'm trying to say. For you, you can only push so far. They are the owners of the company. You are there working as a security manager. You can't really force them to do anything. So you can advise. If they take it, fine. If they don't, if they get breaks, you are not the one who is going to face anything, right? Because you can, at that point, you can tell them, I told you. So there's very little that you can do. Probably just engage with them and try to, you know, convince them to your side and let them see the importance of what you are doing. All right. So we are going to move on to, I think, Brian, and then Ifeoma and Julius, and then we are going to continue. And we will finish, you know, here shortly, and we are going to announce our scholarship winners at the end of. Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Adu. I just want to chime in for some of the people who are wondering how difficult it is for some of these phishing attacks. And, you know, like the one lady asked, are these cybersecurity professionals? You know, I believe in the standard install of Kali Linux. You can turn on the web server service, and there is an app where you can deploy it in like maybe 5 minutes. And if you have the email, you can pick whether you want to send a LinkedIn account, right? And create a phishing email. So say I send you, hey, I see you from the Eretmis Cyber Chat. Please join my LinkedIn request. And I'll email it to you. You'll be like, oh, and it looks like an official LinkedIn email. You click on it, and there it is. I have your information as soon as you click on the link. And that's built into Kali Linux. You don't even have to download anything, just install Kali Linux.
Yeah, right. Thanks for that input, Brian. So is that easy? Or is that easy? And now with AI tools, it's very easy for AI to also like generate like your whole email script that you are going to use for your phishing attack, right? And sometimes so when maybe one of these days we will jump more into social engineering and some of the characteristics, you know, and some of the tips and tricks that attackers are using to really make, maybe next week when we jump into how to protect ourselves, we'll probably go into that area as well. So you can easily read some of the signs So they'll put a sense of urgency in it. They will put some form of authority, familiarity, just like Brian was talking about. Hey, Brian, this is, John from, we are all on the Eretmis Cyber Chat. Of course you were on the Eretmis Cyber Chat. So, okay, John. So now your guard is down, okay, Brian, okay, let's link up on LinkedIn. You just click on it, that's it, right? So that is that easy. So they used, and they were able to get you on here because of familiarity. You are familiar with Eretmis authority, right? Eretmis, okay, I was at Eretmis, or they will say, I'm from IRS. They will call you on the phone, I'm from IRS. There's a problem with your taxes. So we think you owe some money, but, take heart, just confirm your social security number, and, we will check everything and everything will be good. Now, if you are from IRS, why are you asking me of my social security number in the first place? You guys gave me the social security number. But because they just said IRS and they said taxes, nobody wants to own IRS, nothing, or you don't want to hear from IRS, so you start panicking, on the low key. Now, so what can I do? Now, that is maybe probably Brian drinking coffee and, trying his luck, calling people randomly and telling them he's from IRS, looking for social security numbers and the rest, right? So there is a whole variety of tricks when it comes to social engineering, and they are very easy now to do than ever. So I think we are going to pick the last two or thereabout. So please go ahead, Ifeoma.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for the class. It's been very insightful. I've learned so much from this case study. In fact, I'm so shocked at how serious this profession is. It's not a joke. So I had a question about the weighting issue, as in when carrying out maybe some exercise to train the staff, if senior management should be included, and the last speaker brought that question up. It's been answered, but I want to make an observation, because I took the Google IT support certification because I'm making a switch from media to IT. So I started taking some courses on my own, and I noticed that in Google IT support, under the cybersecurity aspect, they started with cryptography. And I was wondering, what's the connection between cybersecurity, excuse me. I was wondering the connection between cybersecurity and cryptography. Like, why are they emphasizing so much on this? And that's where I heard about the plain text, ciphertext and co. And, looking at this case study, I now see why things have to be hidden. Like, even if you get a breach, at least your data should be, encoded. And then another cybersecurity course, I'm preparing for Security Plus. And so I have these materials I bought, and they listed social engineering as the #1 threat. And I was like, why should social engineering be #1? And here again, we're seeing exactly, this is a real life situation, how social engineering was, played a role in this case study. And of course, you've talked about how Coca-Cola always advertises, and that's how the awareness and training should be, presented to the staff. So I'm really grateful. I can see the role of social engineering and cryptography now, and I can see now how not implementing those can actually cause serious issues in the entire security posture of an organization. So thank you very much. It was really eye-opening.
Thank you. You are welcome. And just to add, or to really give you more perspective on cryptography and cybersecurity. So cybersecurity, under cybersecurity, there are different areas, and all these areas, they kind of overlap, right? They all move into each other. So you can't do cybersecurity without having a good working knowledge of all these areas. And cryptography is one, right? So within cryptography, when we send everything that we do, that we have to protect in terms of data. So before I even get to that point, maybe I'm going all over the place, but let me just go back to the fundamentals. In cybersecurity, we have only one one thing that everybody is doing, regardless of what you are doing, whether you are a penetration tester, whether you are an auditor, whatever you are doing. Our goal is to help reduce risks to an acceptable level by the organization, right? And like I said, there is nothing like zero risks. So we are reducing it to a point where we can accept that level of risks. Now, how do we reduce risks? And when it comes to risks, what are we really talking about? So risks will materialize if confidentiality is breached, or availability is breached, or integrity is breached, right? And now these are the three main pillars that we look at when we talk about security. So if you are doing Cybersecurity 101, first thing that they will teach you is the CIA triad and the rest. Now, maybe probably if they don't break it down well for you to understand the whole bigger picture, you wouldn't get it. Now, under the CIA triad, if any of those areas are compromised, then there is a breach, right? And for those areas to be compromised, there has to be a weakness, or what we would call a vulnerability within your confidentiality, integrity, and availability setup, right? Or there has to, and two, there has to be a threat that is, readily available to, exploit that vulnerability or that weakness. So how do we protect the confidentiality, or how do we protect our confidentiality that way there is no weakness, or even if there is a weakness, how do we protect the weakness there? How do we protect the weakness in integrity? How do we protect the weakness in availability? Now that is all that cybersecurity, or everything that everybody is doing is about, right? We are all playing little, aspects of it, or we are helping with little areas to really, bring the whole bigger, picture in perspective. But if you don't understand how it all looks, it's like the blind men who went to see the elephant, right? Somebody held the tail and they could swear on their life the elephant is like a thread, Somebody held the ear and it's like the elephant is like that big. Somebody held the leg. But if you are far back from the elephant and you see the bigger picture, now you're able to understand why he's saying is like a stick, why he's saying is like a trunk, why he's saying. So that is the perspective that I want everybody to have when it comes to security. If you understand security from that perspective, you can work in any role.
Okay. Are we going to look at incident response process, like the processes? It would be nice to look.
Yes, we will look at that here shortly. Once we just address these questions real quick, and then we move on. So those are the areas that we are going to look. We will look at that briefly, and then next week we will still come back to incident response, focusing on social engineering and how we can protect ourselves, right? Because incident response starts with you. How are you going to react? How are you going to protect yourself when you do experience an incident? Right? So cryptography plays a role when it comes to protecting identity, when it comes to protecting confidentiality, right? And then also it comes to play when we are protecting integrity as well. Right? So we have other forms, access management and the rest. So different concepts that we use to help reduce risks. Okay, let's move on. Julius and Olan, and then we will proceed. Go ahead, Julius.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good evening. Good evening. Can everybody hear me? I'm in the car.
Yes, we can hear you.
I just want to say thank you, Dr. Adu, for your time. I'm getting a lot of value. I always get a lot of value on these calls. Some good free nuggets. I just want to kind of piggyback on something a couple of people were saying earlier about like somebody posed a question like, will we ever arrive and be 100% secure? And I think that we never will be, because one of the reasons why we have cybersecurity awareness is to study and do research on human behavior. I mean, I can right now probably go into a chat room and pretend like I'm a female, start flirting with some guy, and the first thing he's gonna say is, send me a picture of you. I can send him a rat, a remote access tool, mask it with a picture. As soon as he clicks on the picture, I can have full access to his computer. I mean, that's how easy this stuff is, man. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there so people can see just how easy it is, man. It's human behavior is 99.9% of why these breaches occur. And I just wanted to share that with the group. So thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ed. That is exactly right on the money. And I mean, I think Julius cannot stress on that enough. Is that easy, right? Olan, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I just want to ask a question and to know a social engineer, if it's coming to you, how will you confirm it? Let me try to paint a picture. For instance, in America for now, hundreds or thousands, if not millions of people are now owing back on their credit payments. They are in debt in their credit card. Now, if someone should go to social media and say, if you want, let's say federal government or a grant to clear your debit, your debit card, whatever, that you should call this number, and you calling that number, and then they're asking you your address, your social security number, and all that. How then will you confirm? Oh, this is good to be. It's too good to be good. Something is behind it. How will you confirm that? Is there any way you could say such?
Okay, so just let me just piggyback on what you just said, right? So I'm there. Olan is my brother, my friend, or we are an acquaintance, and I received a WhatsApp message from Olan's WhatsApp number that is stating that, hey, Dr. Edu, can you really do me a favor? I'm stuck somewhere. Can you send me $200 to this number? I will send it back to you as soon as I'm able to get out of whatever area that I'm at. Right? When you send this to people that you talk to on a regular basis on WhatsApp and through calls, chances that they will call you to verify before they send the money is really slim to none. They will first send the money, and then they will call you later and be like, hey, Olan, did you receive the money? And you're like, what money? Oh, the money that, oh no, sorry, my my WhatsApp got hacked. So they took over my WhatsApp. Right? Why didn't you call Olan before you sent the money? So the point that I'm trying to get at here is, if you see anything being advertised, hey, the government is giving free money. Okay, go to whatever website, the official government website that is a .gov website, dig into it, right? Or just go to Google, is government, and just type in government giving free money scam. Well, somebody would have experienced that, and they had it right there with the full report, right? So mostly if, everybody on here can sense it, but as human as we are, we all want to kind of doubt ourselves and just keep probing and digging, right? You applied for a cybersecurity job and they just reach out to you. Hey, you're a good fit. We want to proceed with you. So can you go ahead and give us your social security number and like a copy of your immigration status, your passport or your green card or whatnot? And why are they asking for all that? You didn't even go to an interview. And this is probably not the first time of you being hired. So why are they collecting all these if you are not doing onboarding or you are not doing in-processing at the job, right? But some people go ahead and give all this information because they know it's wrong, but they think they have a deal, or people are people, right? So make sure you are doing your investigation before taking any action, than taking action and then coming back and realize, oh, I should have. So coming to know the things you should have known before you really engage with whoever, right? And within the job market for cybersecurity, there is a big scam that is also going on. Scammers have they've seen that this is a really good market for this event, so they will portray that they are a recruiter, and they will keep asking for your social security number and your details, and they know people are easily going to give it away. And it's very the irony is that you are a cybersecurity professional looking for, or aspiring cybersecurity professional looking for a cybersecurity job, and you are falling for a cybersecurity scam, right? So they will we have some of our students, hey, they're asking for my social security number. No company is going to ask you that until they have given you an offer and you are doing onboarding, right? Until then, and some people will even tell you, oh, we just gave you the job because we think you're a perfect fit, so you're not even going to do an interview, really, and you're also happy because you are very lucky. No, it doesn't work that way, right? So anything that you think, or in your honest opinion, you think this is BS, but it's too sweet, don't look at the sweetness. Please do your research on it. So if they say they are a company that wants to employ you, blah, 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 they research into the company, right? Like I always tell everybody, when we did the job placement, series, we talked about researching into the company, knowing more about the company than the person who is going to interview you for the role you are looking for, right? So dig into the company, research about them, Google them, look at their ratings, check their LinkedIn page, do all that. So if it is not a company, you will know. If it is a scam, you know. Even for us as cybersecurity companies, we do receive that. And I think for a while ago, for one of our incident response or like our social engineering, we use that as one of the case studies. So mostly we will receive, I think for a while, we will receive an email with a contract, right? Sometimes it was, I think one that we received was funny, like a contract for us to supply laptops. We don't sell laptops. I mean, we are in cybersecurity, we don't do any of that, but they will send that to you. And we knew it was a phishing attack, but we just followed up just to, build and make a case study out of it. So we did our quote and we sent it to this person who was supposed to be working for, I think, the US courts, right? We searched him on LinkedIn, nothing showed up. The US court address was okay, but the number on there was some other number, not the US court's number. And the link they sent for you to input your quotes and everything, if you read like what they have there for like whatever they are looking for, it kind of looked funny. The logos looked a bit scanned, right, and superimposed on the. So there are a lot of red flags. But if you get carried away and you think, oh yeah, like they want us, if you're a new company, you think this is our first contract, it's going to be good. Now they have it on there where if you send them the quote, so we sent them the quote, they reached out back and said, oh, so when can you supply these laptops? And we're like, so what, did we win the contract? Oh yeah, you won. Really? Like, do you even know how the government procurement process works? We just won the contract by submitting. Really? Yeah, you won. If you can like supply them to this address, and we'll pay you in 30 days. Like, oh, okay. So we ignored them, right? We didn't follow up. And then they called. We picked the call and we're like, okay, so what's the deal? Did we? Yeah, you won. Can you And then we started quizzing them, and guess what they did? Oops. They just cut the call, and they went their happy way because they knew we were not going to fall for that, right? But that is a big, and guess what? The email that they were using to send these, it was a spoofed email with a .gov at the end of the email, right? Extension. But when you click on reply, it shows the actual email that is hiding behind the .gov, right? But if you don't know all of these tricks and techniques, you are going to fall for it because you've been taught if it is .gov, it's an official government email, but they can spoof a .gov email too, right? So I think all those are some of the things that we can talk about during other cyber chats, but we are going to move on and wrap it up, right? All right, so now we will jump into incident response. What is incident response? And it's good we built, the background to this point, so everybody understand what an incident is and the magnitude of an incident. So we could have easily just gone straight with incident response, definitions of it and all that, but I think nobody on here is going to forget about incident response, and you're going to be thinking about this for the longest time, right? And because Uber, what happened to them, it's going to be discussion for you and your family, and a significant other, and breaking it down, and you are going to research even more into it, learn about what is happening to this guy and what did he do proud to get in this, so this makes it very interesting and it makes it real. You see the real life application of this. So incident response, it is a structured approach that we use to identify, manage, and mitigate security incidents or cybersecurity breaches, right? The background of incident response, or the main goal, is not to only respond to the incident after it has happened, but to prepare yourself, and then also to, as part of the preparation, we try to prevent or reduce the chances of the occurrence of the incidents. Right? So part of that preparation is awareness training, right? But like I said earlier, breaches or incidents, they are bound to happen. It's just a matter of when. If your company has not experienced it, don't think you are the best thing that has ever happened. So that is why it didn't happen. It is going to happen. That is why you should take a proactive approach of having an incident response program in place. Not just an incident response program on paper. That is just going to save you when you have to go to jail as company top management. But a natural incident response program that is being practiced, that works, right? So you should have an incident response team within your incident response program. Right now, like I always say, everything starts with what? Governance. So incident response will start with governance as well. So your policies and your procedures and your incident response plan on exactly how you are going to execute your incident response within the company, right? And then you move into setting up your incident response team and the rest, right? So the goal is to make sure that if there is an incident, the company is able to handle it smoothly, right? In record time. That way, it doesn't become a significant change in life event, right? So if a company has a very dynamic, a very effective incident response team, when there is an incident, regardless of the magnitude, they are able to handle it well, and the company is able to recover easily from the incident. The public aspect of it, the legal aspect of it, all of it is handled really well, right? So it will look as if the incident really didn't cause that much damage to the organization. And of course, it's not going to cause that much damage. But an incident that is not even as that grave of a problem will become more than will cause like a grave damage if it is not handled well. So just imagine if we are all in a company, right? Let's say maybe 15 of us are working in the cybersecurity space, 5 in the IT and the rest, and all of us, right? Let's say all of us are in there. Now there's an incident. We don't have any structured approach of managing an incident. And we just throw it to the public. Hey, there's an incident. What are we supposed to do? Now, John is talking about, let's put out the fire first. Randall is talking about, no, let's call the fire department first. The other person is like, no, let's run away from the building, right? Whilst you are doing that, guess what is happening? The fire is still burning. It is just moving through and destroying stuff. But if there's a structured approach and everybody knows their role to play, it's just going to be like clockwork, right? Look at like the fire departments. If they have a call that, hey, there's a fire, and now they are fighting between who is going to drive the truck and who is going to sit at the back, and no, I'm not sitting at the back today, you sat at the back last week, and who is going to turn on like the hose? No, I'm not picking it. Guess what is going to happen? Your house will burn to the ground, right? But they've rehearsed how they handle incidents, how they go about it so well, they can all be sleeping. When there is, there is that alert or that the alarm goes off, no question, nobody asks or tells anybody anything. The driver knows what to do, this person knows, everything is on point. And next, in minutes or in maybe 5 minutes, they're on their way. And when they get there, they know exactly, everybody knows their role. That is how your incident response team should be, or your incident response program should be on point, just like the fire department, right? So there are no arguments about who has to do what, and none of that. So a company that is doing everything right, like I said, so for like Uber, if they had a very effective incident response program, the chief security officer, all that he had to do was they were going to report to him and say, this is what happened. We've told the law enforcement, we've contacted the legal team, all that would have been handled already. So that will even be out of his hand to shield it, right? But I don't think that was really the case. Well, it's time to be corrected, but it looks like it, right? So now let's move forward into how to actually handle incidents. Now there are 6 steps. The first step, preparation, is not really, preparation is part of the overall incident response program, but when it comes to actually handling it, if you are preparing to handle it when the incident has occurred already,
Yeah, so very just we can pay commissions to an agent. The agent must
please
be
unmute yourself. Okay, so you are totally wrong if you are planning to. You are now in the preparation phase when it happens. Right? You should be ready, prepared. So the first stage and actually handling it will be the detection, identification, and detection stage. Then you go to analysis, you go to containment, you go to eradication, and you go to recovery. Right, and then you move on into lessons learned. Right, so this is just a brief overview of how you handle the incident. So you are going to identify or detect whether it's an actual incident or it's not just an event, it's a natural incident. Then you move into analyzing the magnitude and the scope of it. And then you move into containing it, not allowing it to spread any further. And then you get rid of it, you eradicate it, and then you try to bring the system and everything back to how it used to be, or to look like how it used to be. That way you can use it. Now we are going to look at why is incident response important? And I think everybody on here knows now, right? So we are just going to touch on briefly on why it is important. So it'll help minimize the impacts of the damage. Like I said, if a house is burning, and let's say the fire department is our incident response team, and they are there arguing about who has to do what, guess what is going to happen? What do you think is going to be the impact and the damage? It could have been a small fire, but by the time they get there, it would have totally destroyed the whole entire building, right? So if they have a very good incident response program in place, they are able to get there on time. So they're able to, put out the fire in record time. So the damage is reduced, the impact will be also minimized, right? So 2, reduce recovery time and the cost. So the bigger the impact, so if the whole house is totally burnt down by the fire, to recover your house back to its original state is going to cost you a lot of money, right? If it was just maybe part of the kitchen that was, affected, it's easy. It's not going to cost us as much time to bring it back to the original state, right? And enhance security posture. So if we have a good incident response program in place as part of the preparation stage, we will make sure our security posture is strengthened, right? By putting in place, like we were discussing earlier, levels of or defense in depth strategies that will help us to remain very active when it comes to our security posture. Now, legal and regulatory compliance. With an incident, so every company or all companies, depending on the industry that you find yourself in, you have to abide by certain legal and regulatory compliance requirements, right? So if you are in the health side, you have to stay in compliance with HIPAA. If you are in the educational side and you're on the government side, even I think outside the government side, you have to stay in compliance with FEPA. For if you're accepting credit card and debit card, PCI DSS, right? If you work in the government, if you're a government agency or you're a contractor for the government, RMF and FESMA. Right? So there's a whole list of them, right? Now, incident response are part of all these frameworks that I just touched on. So within your company, do you have an incident response obligation to report incidents that will happen to law enforcement and to the public, right? There's an actual law by state that will let you know which state agencies you have to report the incidents to, right? So if Uber had a vibrant or an incident response team that was effective, there will be somebody on the incident response team who is responsible for legal and regulatory compliance. And those folks would have just, they would have just, contacted the appropriate state agency or federal agency, the appropriate law enforcement agencies, and would have alerted them of this, right? Because they would have been already set up just like the fire department, how they move their trucks. So before you come in as the fire chief to tell them, hey, why this, they would have been gone. Everything is, working. The system is working. So you don't need any input from anybody. And you can't tell them, well, I don't like the lady whose house is on fire, so please don't go. Everybody is staying here. That is not going to work. Because when there is an alert, they have everything put in place. Like before you can say, Jack, they're on their way over there putting out the fire, right? So if that is how your incident response team should be, they shouldn't rely on the CISO or the chief of technology or the chief of security. They shouldn't rely on any of those people to function. So that goes to show you, I don't know what kind of, maybe Uber should pay me big money. I can help them with incident response. Right? So now we move into customer trust and brand reputation. You don't want to be in a case study like this, right? Or any case study for that matter for incidents that happen, right? So when customers, their trust is going to be a bit on the low side, right? And your goodwill that you've built over the years is, going to obviously tank, and your stocks and the rest is going to be affected. Now, this lessons learned from this will also prevent future incidents. You might think, right? What happened to Uber 2014, and the same vulnerability was exploited in 2016. So did they have were they having a really good incident response program in place? I don't think so. So intellectual property protection, yes, and also data protection will all be some of the benefits and some of the reasons why we need to invest in incident response, right? So we are wrapping up our new cybersecurity, our new PCI class is beginning on the 16th of October. Everybody is invited to join, and our career path. So for everybody, we have cybersecurity crash course. Cybersecurity for beginners is a free course, and PCI for beginners is also one of our PCI free courses. And for if you are looking to get into the cybersecurity space, to learn cybersecurity, to become a dynamic and effective cybersecurity professional, then we encourage you to take our cybersecurity entry-level course. That covers everything in terms of knowledge, taking you through different aspects of cybersecurity like this one, and then taking you through the hands-on training aspect. So even with the hands-on training, we expose you to the tools. And as part of that, we show you one trick of how to really do one, attack. It's not a full-blown pen testing class, but we show you how to do a very simple attack. So doing something on the lines of social engineering and how to create some of these links of duplicating a website like Facebook and sending a link to somebody to click on it to put in their username and password, which will all going to come to you, right? So you can even try that on your own. All that is part of, aside the other tools like Splunk and the rest that we're going to show you how to use and build your own lab. All that is part of the cybersecurity awareness training. And then we have 2 months of internship that you are going to go through, where we actually will work on projects like incident response for a company. We work on audits and the rest. So it's a full-blown program that is going to make you a cybersecurity professional, all-rounded, ready to assume most of the security jobs that are out there, right? So when with a PCI, we are training you to be a PCI professional in one of the biggest niches within the cybersecurity space as well, right? So we have our standalone cybersecurity internship also for everybody who's gone through different training. If you want hands-on, real-world working with a company, that is also starting on the 21st. So the Saturday after we've started the PCI training, right? So you are invited to join all these also as well. And mode of payments, we have different installment payment options. You can, pay now, learn now, pay later with Affirm and the rest, 0 down payment with Meritize. And you can do income sharing also with MayaShare and the rest. All of this is on our website, eretmisacademy.com. So with that, we are going to wrap it up. But next week, we are still going to touch more on incident response, focusing on individuals, how we'll be able to protect ourselves and our companies. And then we will look at some of the career paths that we have within the incident response field in security, right? Any questions for the group before? I think there are some questions in the chat. Olan, no, not Olan, Uchiba, please go ahead.
Yeah, Doc, I just have one quick question, like, why PCI DSS is very, very important in compliance analysis job?
Or you're asking why it's important?
Yeah, because there was an interview I got like that, but they asked me if I have a training in PCI DSS.
Oh, okay. So
I was just thinking, see, you always talk about this in the class.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I think maybe I'll have some of the PCI folks on here answer this. Anyone? I think I'm going to pick on somebody. Okay, so who thinks or why is PCI important? Go ahead.
It's pain. Oh, go ahead. I can say something about it. Any organization that does all the credit card information, either store, transmit, or process, for safety of the account holder based on certain standard set up by the 5 major financial company. There are certain requirements. If you don't do those things and you get hacked, you're going to be fined from range of, depending on how much you process. I mean, it could be as low as 20,000 to $1 million, but it's going to be a huge fine. You're going to be responsible. So once you don't follow those requirements, majorly 12 of them, you're going to be in trouble, if you process this time. So that's why it's very important. They're asking you why you have that experience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think before I let Julius go, so we were talking about frameworks or standards that organization will have to follow, like their legal and regulatory compliance aspect of security, right? Now, when it comes to that aspect, legal and regulatory, we have different standards or what we call frameworks. PCI DSS is one. So PCI DSS affects or for companies that have to stay in compliance with PCI DSS, if you accept credit card and debit card as form of payments within your company, then you have to stay within PCI DSS compliance, space. Now, with the frameworks, different frameworks like RMF, the rest, FESMA, HIPAA, and the rest, right? They are all frameworks that you have to stay in compliance with based on the industry you are in or what you do within security. Now, for you to really, pick a path that you want to follow is this. You have to look at a framework that is international, a framework that applies to all industries, right? So with PCI, regardless whether you're a government agency, whether you are in Africa, whether you are in Europe, if you're accepting credit card and debit card, you have to follow PCI. If you don't, they will take away that capability of you being able to accept credit card and debit card, right? And if you're a company who is not able to accept credit card and debit card, I don't know what kind of business you are going to be in, because people don't carry around cash. And plus, if I'm in Australia and I want to purchase something from your website, maybe it's a digital product, am I going to mail you the money, or how are you going to get the money? Right. I mean, so companies, they don't, and they are forced to follow this, right? Unlike other frameworks like ISO and the rest, which are nice to have if you follow, but the rest, like HIPAA applies to only health industry within the US, right? Now, within that same health industry, if they are accepting credit card and debit card, they have to follow PCI. So PCI cuts across, is international, and everybody needs it. Almost every company accepts credit card and debit card. So that is why you need PCI, right? So you can work in security or within whichever industry. You probably wouldn't have to follow HIPAA. You probably wouldn't have to follow RMF or follow ISO or any of these. But if your company is accepting credit card and debit card, regardless of what level they might find themselves, level 1 to level 4, they will have to follow PCI DSS standards. And so if the company during the interview they were asking you for that, then probably they have to follow PCI DSS standard. So they want somebody who will be able to help them on those lines. And there are a lot of companies who are when it comes to PCI DSS. And I know this because I work with most of these. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah.
So I think Julius had something, and then we are going to wrap up. So thank you, everybody.
I'm going to pass. You pretty much said what I was going to say, Dr.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. So before we wrap up, just taking a glance. So if you had a question in the chat and we didn't address, you can please raise your virtual hand and let us know, because there's a lot in here that I know we've been holding everybody up for a while. So we have to wrap it up. Now, next week, we are going to continue on. And like I said, as part of the Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we are doing some sponsorships. So we're going to do 8, but we are doing 10 in total. And that will cut across our PCI training, cybersecurity awareness, cybersecurity entry-level course, and then also internship, right? So our 2 winners for tonight, we are picking 2. Next week, we'll pick 3. And then throughout the month of October, we are going to be picking more, right? And who knows, maybe sometimes we even pick more than what we originally started with. So our 2 for tonight, pick at random, 2 folks that we picked at random tonight. First one is Ucheba.
Hey.
Ucheba, and so Ucheba, Odega, thank you. So Ucheba Odega, please shoot us an email and they will take care of you. Then they'll let you know which program you are going to win. The next one is Abena Odiko.
Okay.
So Abena, if Abena is still on here, Abena Odiko, you are also, please also shoot us an email.
Abena Diko.
Abena, yeah, Diko, not Odiko.
Yay! Wow, thank you.
And
Okay.
they were all picked at random. So next week, we are also going to give 3 like that. And it cuts across. So it was, and also for like your prize is going to be also random. You can receive PCI, DSS training. So, but the main point is you won and you are going to, get something in terms of training, good training in cybersecurity. So for information about we have a WhatsApp group. So for everybody who is not in our WhatsApp group, you can please join. It's a big community, and all information and good information that we are sharing, we are going to put it on there. It's a fairly quiet group, so you are not going to receive any spam and the rest. And we also have some cybersecurity police on there. They are going to whip you in line if you are posting it outside cybersecurity also as well. So please do well to join. And then also for our YouTube, we have a lot of these chats on YouTube. A very good place for you to get, great knowledge into the cybersecurity space. And if you need help with anything, our details have been posted in the chat. So you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to help that grow, to help other fellow folks to also get to find us on YouTube and also to learn. And we are wrapping up. I appreciate everybody's time. We stayed a bit longer today because of the case study. It was interesting. We're discussing next week. We're also going to have a case study as well. And congratulations to our winners, Abena and Ucheba. And next week, we are going to pick 3 more winners. I appreciate everybody's time. We're wrapping up for tonight. I'm Dr. Emmanuel Edu. I know it's Friday night, but you chose to be here with the family, and we always try to make sure that you are going to go away with something meaningful, and also you are going to learn and add to your toolbox as a cybersecurity professional or aspiring cybersecurity professional. I appreciate everybody's time. For internship folks, we are meeting.
Bye, Dr. Samuel, Emmanuel. Bye.
Yeah, bye. All right. So I appreciate everybody's time. Have a great weekend. We'll meet again next week, God willing, same time for Cyber Chat.
Goodbye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Congrats to the winners.
Yep. Congrats to the winners.